Imagine a heart that has built a fortress around itself, stone by stone, with every disappointment, every betrayal, every silent plea that went unanswered. This fortress isn't made of arrogance, it's made of fear. It's a sanctuary of solitude, a place where the walls are so high and so thick that the silence inside is deafening. This is the world of the avoidant. For years, for a lifetime perhaps, they have mastered the art of the graceful exit, the emotional sidestep, the relationship that never quite gets too close. They have mistaken the safety of their self-made prison for strength. But then, something miraculous happens. It's not a loud, dramatic event, but a quiet, persistent knock on the door of that fortress. It's a love that doesn't demand the walls to come down with force, but that simply waits in the garden outside, patient and unwavering. And one day, from a tiny hidden window high up in that tower, the avoidant dares to look down and sees not a threat, but a home. What happens in that moment when the heart that has spent a lifetime running finally allows itself to be caught? It is not just a change, it is a revolution of the soul, a seismic shift that rewrites every story of unworthiness they have ever told themselves. This journey begins with the terrifying dawn of safety, that first terrifying moment when you realize this person, this love, is not a threat. It continues as you navigate the emotional thaw, a painful and beautiful unlocking of a heart long frozen. You will be challenged to confront the ghosts of the past, to stare down every demon that whispered you were better off alone. Then comes the courageous act of surrendering the illusion of control, of letting go and trusting that you will be caught. This empowers you to rewrite your core story, to shift from a narrative of I am unlovable to the profound truth of I am worthy of a profound and lasting love. You then learn to build a new language of intimacy, one based on vulnerability, not on distance. And finally, you achieve the emergence of the integrated self, where the defenses fall away and you discover the powerful, loving, and secure person you were always meant to be. This is not a fairy tale. This is the hard, messy, and glorious work of a soul coming home to itself, finally allowing real love to do what it was always meant to do, heal, transform, and set you free. The first and most profound shock to the system of an avoidant individual is not love itself, but the terrifying, disorienting, and utterly foreign sensation of feeling safe. For your entire life, your nervous system has been calibrated for threat. Connection has been synonymous with danger, with the potential for engulfment, for criticism, for the ultimate abandonment you have always secretly believed you deserved. Your entire identity has been constructed around a single core operating principle. Emotional self-sufficiency is survival. You are the island, complete and impenetrable. But then, someone arrives. They don't try to storm the beaches of your island with demands and expectations. They don't try to colonize your solitude. Instead, they simply sail into your waters and drop anchor, a quiet, steady presence that refuses to leave. At first, this is interpreted as the greatest threat of all. Your internal alarms are screaming. You wait for the other shoe to drop. You test them. You create distance. You unconsciously try to provoke the rejection you are so familiar with, because even negative certainty is more comfortable than the terrifying uncertainty of being truly seen and still accepted. But the rejection doesn't come. The anchor holds. Their presence remains consistent and patient. This consistency begins to create a cognitive dissonance so powerful it threatens to shatter your entire worldview. The story you've told yourself, that you are too much or not enough, that love is conditional and temporary, starts to crack under the weight of a new, undeniable evidence to the contrary. This is where the real terror begins. Because if this is real, then everything you have ever believed about yourself and about love is a lie. The fortress you built to protect yourself has become the very thing that has imprisoned you. Feeling safe with this person means you must confront the horrifying truth that you have been your own jailer. The anxiety that floods you in moments of closeness is no longer about the other person. It's the panic of your own defenses realizing they are about to become obsolete. It's the fear of the self you have known dying, and the terror of not knowing who you will be without those walls. You look into their eyes, and you don't see judgment or the desire to change you. You see a reflection of a person you don't yet recognize, a person who is worthy, a person who is loved. This moment of safety is the crack in the armor, the first ray of light in a perpetually dark room, and it is absolutely terrifying because it asks one thing of you: to take the first trembling step out of your fortress and into the terrifying, wide-open space of genuine connection, where for the first time, the risk of being hurt is outweighed by the profound, soul-stirring possibility of being truly, deeply, and unconditionally loved. If the dawn of safety is the first crack in the ice, then the emotional thaw is the slow, painful, and often messy process of the entire glacier beginning to melt. For decades, you have been in a state of emotional cryogenics, freezing feelings the moment they arose. Anger, compartmentalized. Sadness, suppressed. Fear, buried under layers of intellectualization and busyness. And most dangerously, joy and love, sabotaged before they could take root, because to feel intense joy was to acknowledge the potential for its loss. You became a master of emotional regulation through avoidance, a virtuoso of numbness. But real love acts as a relentless sun, shining a warm, persistent light on this frozen landscape. And as the ice begins to melt, it isn't just the beautiful, serene trickle of a spring stream. It is a torrent. It is a flood. All the emotions you have spent a lifetime running from are now released in a chaotic, unpredictable, and overwhelming cascade. You might find yourself crying uncontrollably at a commercial, feeling a rage that seems disproportionate to a minor inconvenience, or experiencing waves of anxiety in the middle of a perfectly peaceful moment. This is not a breakdown, this is a breakthrough. It is your feeling body, your heart, waking up from a long coma and screaming to be heard. Every suppressed memory, every uncried tear, every stifled protest from your childhood, from past relationships is now rising to the surface, demanding to be felt and processed. This phase is incredibly confusing for both you and your partner. One moment you are connected and close, the next you are distant and irritable. You are feeling too much all at once, and the wiring in your brain that was designed to shut this down is short-circuiting. It is crucial to understand that this thaw is not a sign that the love is wrong or that you are broken beyond repair. It is the exact opposite. It is the sign that you are healing, that your capacity to feel is being restored. The numbness was the sickness. This painful, messy flood is the cure. It is the process of your soul defrosting, of life returning to limbs that have been frozen for too long. You must learn to sit with these emotions, to let them wash over you without judgment, to name them. This is grief. This is old fear. This is the pain of my 8-year-old self. And to finally allow them to pass through you. Your partner's role in this is not to fix it, but to be a steady, non-anxious presence, to hold your hand while you tremble, to reassure you that you are not going insane, that you are safe to feel this in their presence. This thaw is the messy, necessary, and profoundly courageous work of reclaiming the full spectrum of your humanity, of trading the sterile safety of numbness for the vibrant, unpredictable, and authentic experience of being fully alive. As the emotional thaw progresses, it reveals the architects of your fortress. These are the ghosts of the past, the echoes of childhood wounds, the voices of critical caregivers, the scars of previous betrayals that have been living rent-free in your mind, dictating your every move in relationships. For years, you may not have even been consciously aware of them. Their messages were so deeply ingrained that they felt like your own thoughts. Don't be a burden. If you get too close, they'll see how flawed you are and leave. Your needs are too much. You can only rely on yourself. Real love, with its unwavering light, exposes these ghosts for what they are, phantoms, not present-day reality. But to the avoidant, these ghosts feel more real than the living, breathing person loving them in the present moment. The process of confrontation is a brutal and intimate war that takes place entirely on the battlefield of your own psyche. It begins with awareness. You start to catch the script. In a moment of vulnerability with your partner, you feel a sudden, powerful urge to withdraw. Instead of blindly following it, you pause. You get curious. You ask, where is this coming from? Whose voice is this? And you remember. You remember the time you cried as a child and were told to stop being dramatic. You remember the parent who was emotionally unavailable, teaching you that your feelings were an inconvenience. You remember the partner who used your vulnerabilities as weapons against you. These ghosts created a blueprint for connection that was fundamentally flawed. A blueprint that said intimacy equals pain. Now, you have a new reality, a new person offering a different blueprint, one based on acceptance and safety. The confrontation is the active daily choice to believe the new evidence over the old stories. It is looking directly at the ghost of the parent who made you feel unseen and saying, "You were wrong. I am seen now." It is telling the ghost of the ex who broke your trust, "Your actions do not define my future. This is not a one-time event, it is a relentless practice. Every time you feel the old urge to flee and you choose to stay, you are slaying a ghost. Every time you express a need and it is met with kindness, you are dismantling an ancient lie. Every time you allow yourself to be comforted, you are proving to that wounded inner child that they are not alone anymore. This is perhaps the most exhausting part of the journey, because you are fighting a war on two fronts, against the internalized voices of the past, and against the part of you that still, on some level, believes they are right. But with each ghost you confront, you reclaim a piece of your soul. You take back your right to need, to want, to love, and to be loved, not in spite of your imperfections, but with them, fully and completely. The avoidant's entire existence is a monument to control. You control your environment by keeping it predictable. You control your relationships by maintaining emotional and physical distance. You control your inner world by suppressing any feeling that threatens to overwhelm you. This illusion of control is the bedrock of your perceived safety. It is the steering wheel you grip with white knuckles, convinced that if you let go for even a second, the vehicle of your life will careen off a cliff. Real love demands that you unclench your hands. It requires a surrender so profound it feels like death, because to love truly is to relinquish control. It is to admit that you cannot manage another person's feelings, that you cannot predict the future, and that you cannot armor yourself against the inherent risk of heartbreak. The process of surrender is a series of small, heart-stopping leaps of faith. It is the moment you decide to share a shameful secret you have never told anyone, and you surrender control over their judgment. It is the moment you say, "I need you," and you surrender the identity of the self-sufficient island. It is the moment you allow yourself to be truly vulnerable during intimacy, both emotional and physical, and you surrender the control of your own emotional state to the shared experience. This is not passive resignation. It is an active, courageous choice to trust. It is choosing to fall backward, believing you will be caught. For the avoidant, every one of these acts feels like walking the plank. The body screams with anxiety, the mind races with catastrophic predictions. But each time you choose to surrender and are met with love, acceptance, and support, you rewire your nervous system. You teach the deepest, most primal part of yourself that connection is safer than isolation, that interdependence is more powerful than independence. You begin to understand that the control you were clinging to was an illusion all along. You never really controlled whether you got hurt. You only controlled the depth of your loneliness. By surrendering the need to control the relationship, you finally gain control over the one thing that truly matters, your capacity to be authentically, vulnerably, and powerfully present in your own life. You trade the brittle, fragile safety of the fortress for the dynamic, resilient strength that comes from being in a shared, co-created partnership. This surrender is the ultimate act of faith. Not faith in the other person never to hurt you, but faith in your own ability to survive even if you are hurt. And faith in the transformative power of love to make the risk infinitely worthwhile. Every human being operates from a core story, a narrative identity forged in the fires of our earliest experiences. For the avoidant, this story is a tragedy. Its central theme is unworthiness. The plot is simple. You are fundamentally flawed in some way. Too needy, too independent, too sensitive, too detached. And, therefore, you are not truly worthy of consistent, secure, and unconditional love. This story is not something you read. It is a lens through which you view every interaction, a filter that distorts reality to confirm its bleak thesis. You interpret a partner's bad day as proof you are a burden. You see their love as a temporary lapse in judgment that they will soon correct. For your entire life, this story has been your truth, but real love presents an undeniable, earth-shattering contradiction to this narrative. It is a new data point that does not fit the old model. The process of rewriting your core story is the psychological and spiritual work of integrating this new evidence until it becomes your new truth. It begins with catching the old story in action. You hear the voice say, "They'll leave if they see the real you," and you consciously, deliberately challenge it. You look at the evidence. They have seen me at my worst, and they are still here. They know my flaws, and they still choose me. This is not positive thinking. It is evidence-based thinking. You start to collect moments of love and acceptance like precious artifacts, using them to build a new, more accurate story. You actively practice self-talk that contradicts the old script. Instead of "I am unlovable," you affirm, "I am worthy of love and belonging." It feels fake at first, like you are lying to yourself. But with repetition and with the consistent loving reflection from your partner, the new story begins to take root. You are no longer the abandoned child or the betrayed ex. You are a resilient adult capable of giving and receiving love. You shift from an identity of lack to an identity of wholeness. This rewriting is not about erasing the past, it is about changing its meaning. The childhood loneliness is no longer proof of your unworthiness, but a testament to your strength and the reason you can now appreciate deep connection so profoundly. The past failures are not confirmations of your flaws, but valuable lessons that taught you what you truly need. This new core story becomes your foundation. It is the story of a person who was lost but found their way home. A person who built walls but had the courage to tear them down. A person who once believed they were unworthy of love but now knows, in the very core of their being, that they are deserving of everything they have finally allowed themselves to receive. The avoidant individual is fluent in the language of distance. They are masters of subtle deactivation strategies, finding flaws in their partner, creating conflict to reestablish space, focusing on work or hobbies to avoid emotional connection. Their vocabulary is built around words and actions that say, "Stay back." Their partner often feels they are speaking a different language, and they are. Real love requires that you become a beginner again. You must step into the vulnerability and clumsiness of learning a brand new language, the language of intimacy. This language is not built on grand gestures, but on tiny, consistent moments of turning towards instead of away. It starts with translating your internal world into words. Instead of shutting down when you feel anxious, you learn to say, "I'm feeling really anxious right now, and it's making me want to pull away. It's not about you." This one sentence is a monumental act of courage. It bridges the gap between your internal experience and your partner's perception. The new language of intimacy is the language of needs. For a lifetime, you have believed your needs were a weakness. Now, you must learn to identify them and articulate them. "I need a few minutes of quiet to decompress," or "I need a hug," or "I need you to listen to me right now without trying to fix it." This is not about being needy, it is about being in a healthy, interdependent relationship. This new language also includes the grammar of active listening and empathy, of learning to truly hear your partner's experience. Without becoming defensive or retreating into your own head, it's about asking, "How did that make you feel?" and genuinely wanting to know the answer. It's about sharing your own feelings without the filter of self-protection. Every time you use this new language, every time you express a vulnerability, state a need, or offer empathy, you are building a new neural pathway. You are creating a new default setting for connection. It is exhausting and awkward, like any new learning process. You will make mistakes. You will revert to the old language of distance under stress. But with a patient partner and a commitment to practice, this new language begins to feel more natural than the old one. The connection that blossoms from this shared vocabulary is deeper and more secure than anything you ever thought possible. You are no longer two people separated by a wall of misunderstanding, but two souls learning to communicate in the dialect of true, fearless intimacy. After the thaw, after the battles with ghosts, after the surrender and the rewriting of your story, something miraculous begins to happen. The fragmented parts of yourself start to coalesce. The defended, avoidant self that you presented to the world, the wounded, fearful inner child hiding deep within, and the capable, functional adult you are in your career. These separate entities begin to integrate into a single, whole, and authentic person. This is the emergence of the integrated self. The walls of the fortress are not just down, they have been recycled. Their stones used to build a warm, welcoming home with an open door. You are no longer trapped inside or dangerously exposed. You are grounded, centered, and secure in who you are. In this state, your need for distance transforms into a healthy capacity for autonomy. You can enjoy your alone time not as an escape from a threatening connection, but as a nourishing practice of self-care that fuels you for deeper connection. Your relationships are no longer a source of consuming anxiety, but a source of strength and comfort. You discover a new kind of power, not the power that comes from needing no one, but the power that comes from knowing you can choose to be vulnerable and that your worth is not diminished by that choice. You can set boundaries from a place of self-respect, not from a place of fear. You can offer love freely, without the constant calculation of risk, because you know that your wholeness is not dependent on the other person's response. The love you receive from your partner is no longer just something you get. It becomes an energy that flows through you, amplifying your own capacity to love yourself and the world around you. The integrated self is the final destination of this entire journey. It is the phoenix that rises from the ashes of the old defended identity. This self is resilient, compassionate, deeply feeling, and powerfully present. They have not just found real love. They have, through the courageous act of receiving it, become a real love for their partner, for their community, and most importantly, for the person they see finally, and with great love staring back at them in the mirror. This journey from the frozen, silent fortress of avoidance to the warm, open home of an integrated self is not for the faint of heart. It is the most challenging and most rewarding work you will ever do. It requires you to stare directly into the abyss of your own deepest fears and to choose faith over familiarity, to choose connection over the comfortable prison of control. It asks you to feel everything you have spent a lifetime numbing, to confront the ghosts that have haunted you, and to surrender the very defenses you believed were keeping you safe. Remember, the terrifying dawn of safety is the first sign that healing is possible, that a new way of being is knocking at your door. The emotional thaw, as messy and overwhelming as it is the beautiful, chaotic sound of your own heart coming back to life, of sensation returning to limbs you thought were permanently numb. It is the proof that you are still in there, alive and yearning to be felt. Confronting the ghosts of your past is where you reclaim your power. It is where you stop being a victim of your history and become the author of your present and future. By surrendering the illusion of control, you do not become weak, you become free. You trade the exhausting burden of micromanaging your emotional world for the liberating trust that comes from true partnership and faith in your own resilience. Rewriting your core story is how you change your destiny. You are not the unworthy, flawed character in a tragic story. You are the hero who has overcome, the resilient soul who has learned to love and be loved. Building a new language of intimacy is how you build that new destiny with others, creating bonds that are based on truth, vulnerability, and mutual respect, rather than on fear and distance. And finally, the emergence of the integrated self is your birthright. It is the person you were always meant to be before the world taught you to build walls. This person is whole, they are powerful, they are deeply loving, and they are capable of experiencing a joy and a peace that the avoidant self could only ever dream of in their most secret, hidden moments. So if you are on this path, if you are the avoidant who is finally feeling real love, know that the pain, the fear, the confusion, it is all part of the transformation. It is the sound of your old self breaking open to make room for the new. It is the proof that you are healing, that you are growing, that you are becoming. Do not run from it. Lean in. Feel it all. For on the other side of that fear is a life of connection, of passion, of meaning, and of a love so real and so profound that it will make every moment of the struggle worth it. You are not breaking, you are breaking through. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for having the courage to be here, to listen and to confront these truths with an open heart. This journey is yours to take, and the first step is always the decision that you are worthy of the love that awaits you on the other side. Go out there and claim it. I believe in you. Goodbye for now.